Shalom. Welcome to Light of the Hill Ministries. And in today's teaching, we will be continuing on in the series, The Strange Woman. If you want to follow along, I will be posting it in the first comment box. May we all walk as Yeshua walked. Now, on to the teaching in the series. Proverbs 31:27. She watches over the ways of her household. It does not eat the bread of idleness. The Hebrew word that is translated as watches comes from the primitive root verb sophah, Strong's number H6822, which means to look out, watchman, keep watch. This word originally meant to watch or keep guard over something or someone. The word is used of Yahweh watching over people, over nations, and even over situations that are happening at the time. The idea behind this watch was that of being a watchman who would look far out over the horizon, warn of danger that is coming. So too, the bride of Messiah watches over her family, because to her, she values them. She watches over everyone in the house to make sure that danger is not arising in a way that will catch the family off guard. She watches for the enemy and warns anyone in the family of its approach. She watches for the ways of her household. The word also has to do with watching one travel. And the bride of Messiah is watching her family along the paths of life. She knows that the road would be narrow. Enter through the narrow gate, because the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction. And there are many who enter in through it, because the gate is narrow, and the way is hard pressed, which leads to life. And there are few who find it. Matthew 7:13 through 14. The way or road is often filled with danger and with trials. The bride of Messiah teaches her family about the traps and snares of the wicked one. She watches over them in another way as well. She prays over them, interceding over them, asking the Father to watch over them, guiding them into His kingdom. The bride of Messiah also does not eat the bread of idleness. The Hebrew word for idleness is H6104, a sleuth, a feminine noun referring to idleness, sluggishness. The description of a wise, worthy woman includes the assertion that she does not let idleness or laziness become a part of her life. There is a danger for the wife to become too lazy and not watching for her household. Why would that be? Because the enemy of our souls and our families is setting snares and traps for our loved ones. The bride of Messiah must not be lazy in watching over her family. Look for the telltale signs that the assembly is not doing well spiritually. As Paul tells us in Ephesians 6. Praying at all times, with all prayer and supplication, in the Spirit, watching in all perseverance and supplication for all the set-apart ones. Ephesians 6:18. The bride of Messiah gladly watches with all perseverance and supplication for the set-apart ones. Her children shall rise up and call her blessed. Her husband too, and praises her. Proverbs 31:28. Because the bride watches, or wife watches after them, the family praises her because of her diligent love and work of righteousness. Her children can rise up as they are established in the truth that she teaches them. We, as children of the Most High, are equipped to be firmly established in Him who teaches us through the continual washing of His Word. The Hebrew word for blessed comes from the root verb ashar, Strong's 833, which means blessed, lead, guide, to go straight, make progress, to be advanced, to be led forth. Proverbs 8:32. And now listen to me, you children, for blessed are they who guard my ways. The scripture here teaches us that we are blessed, led, guided, straight, making progress in our advance when we guard Yahweh's way. This is why the husband will rejoice in his bride, because she takes all those actions and applies them in her life. And so he delights in her. As Isaiah 62, verses 4 and 5 says, no longer are you called forsaken, and no longer is your land called deserted, but you shall be called Hephzibah. My delight is in her, and your land married. For Yahweh shall delight in you, and your land be married. For as a young man marries a virgin, so shall your sons marry you. And as the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall your Elohim rejoice over you. Many daughters have done nobly, but you have risen up over them all. Proverbs 31:29. The bride of Messiah should have a higher standard than those who call themselves noble. She rises above the worldly standard of what it means to be a bride and is praised by her husband. The strange woman has no standard on which to live by. Rather, she seeks the praise of men rather than the praise of the Messiah. Our standard as brides of Messiah is set apart. As we look to the glory of our husband and king, we say that we are not of this world, but in it. Loveliness is deceptive. Prettiness is vain. A woman who fears Yahweh is to be praised. Proverbs 31:30. The Hebrew word used here for loveliness is the word chen. Strong's H2580, which means grace, adornment, favor, graciousness. The Hebrew word that is translated as deceptive is shaker. Strong's H8267, which means deception, disappointment, falsehood, lies, and comes from the root verb shakar. Strong's H8266, which means to do or deal falsely, lie. For the strange woman, there is a false favor in that she thinks that her outward adornment will give her the things she wants. Only the true bride of Messiah understands the favor that Yeshua gives, and it only begins when she humbles herself towards her husband. She seeks to serve Yeshua rather than herself. The Hebrew word used here for prettiness is yofi. Strong's number H3308, which means prettiness, beauty. And the Hebrew word for vain is chabel. Strong's H1892 and means vapor, breath, delusion, emptiness, futility, vanity, idols, worthlessness. And we see this word being used in the following verse. Omri did evil in the eyes of Yahweh, and did evil more than all those before him, and walked in the ways of Yoravam, son of Nebat. And in his sin, by which he had made Israel sin, provoked Yahweh Elohim of Israel with their worthlessness, Havel. 1 Kings 16, verses 25 through 26. Outward beauty is a worthless pursuit. This strange woman does, and as well as so many who follow after her. What they don't realize is that their end is eventually death, because they do what they think seems right. There is a way which seems right to man, but its end is the way of death. Proverbs 14, verse 12. Yahweh does not look on outward appearances, but looks to the heart, as he told Samuel. But Yahweh said to Shemuel, I do not look at his appearance or at the height of his stature, because I refused him. For not as man sees, for man looks at the eyes, but Yahweh looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. Not only does Yahweh give favor to those who are humble, but it is the humble that fear him. And the Hebrew root word that is used here for fear is yareh, Strong's H3373, which means to fear, be afraid, reverence, respect, and also is used as an adjective to describe one who is wise, and therefore giving us the better meaning of to stand in awe of, be awed, to reverence, honor, and respect. Psalms 111 verse 10 says, the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom. All those doing them have a good understanding. His praise is standing forever. Proverbs 1 verse 7, the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. The strange woman does not delight in gaining the true knowledge of the set-apart one, and by actions of lawlessness she reveals her lack of fear for Elohim. The bride of Messiah knows wisdom by doing the good that Yahweh requires her to do, whereas the strange woman would feign wisdom, and thus looking like a fool and a hypocrite like the Pharisees that Yeshua warned us about. Matthew 23, verses 25, verse 28. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees and hypocrites, because you clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside they are filled with plunder and unrighteousness. Blind Pharisees, first clean the inside of the cup and dish, so that the outside of them becomes clean too. Woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, because you are like the whitewashed tombs, which outwardly indeed look well, but inside are filled with dead man's bones and all uncleanness. So you too outwardly indeed appear righteous to men, but inside you are filled with hypocrisy and lawlessness. The Greek word used here for hypocrisy is the word hypokrisis, Strong's G 5272, which means hypocrisy, dissimulation, which is to hide under a false appearance, play acting, pretending. One who is not without hypocrisy is a hypocrite, and referred originally to one who judged from under the cover of a mask, thus assuming an identity and character which he was not. The term was typically referred to the actors on the Greek stage, which is one who took the role of another, giving the appearance of a false identity in order to indulge the fantasy of the audience. Romans 12:9. Let love be without hypocrisy, pretending. Shrink from what is wicked, cling to what is good. Understanding this, we could therefore see that Paulus is clearly telling us to not to pretend to love. The strange woman does this as she pretends to love others, giving others a fantasy of who she is while hiding behind a mask. She plays the role of a believer well, and like an actor, she has learned her lines that have been scripted. Her love is very much scripted and has no real substance to it. What she fails to realize is that her lies is already seen by Yahweh because he sees all. The eyes of Yahweh are in every place, watching the evil and the good. Proverbs 15, verse 3. In Yahweh's eyes, he knows who is pretending and who is not. A pretender is not who Yahushua is looking for. He's looking for one whose love is sincere and humble. Kepha, Peter, teaches us in terms of what a bride of Messiah should be, as seen in his first letter. In the same way, wives, be subject to your own husband, so that if any are disobedient to the word, they without a word might be won by the behavior of their wives. Having been your having seen your blameless behavior in fear, your adornment should not be outward, arranging the hair, wearing gold, or putting on dresses, but the hidden man of the heart, with the incorruptible ornament of a meek and peaceable spirit, which is of great value before Elohim. 1 Peter 3, verses 1 through 4. Just as a wife of a husband ought to display these qualities of a meek and peaceable spirit, so too we, as the bride of Messiah, ought to display these qualifications before him, as he is our husband and king, who is coming for a bride that is not deceptive or vain in her appearance, but is one that truly fears Yahweh, and he will praise her, exalting her in due time. Humble yourself then under the mighty hand of Elohim, so that he exalts you in due time. 1 Peter 5:6. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. Proverbs 31:31. As we have discussed in verse 16, she will plant vineyards. And now here in the last verse we are given the clear picture of the reward that is given as a result of her work of obedience. The picture can cause us to be reminded of the parable of the talents, where the reward of being a good and trustworthy servant is given to those who have produced good fruit with the works of their hands, while those who hide their talents will be thrown into outer darkness, which would be the strange woman. The reward of the bride of Messiah will be that her works will be remembered by her husband and king. She will enter with him into his reign with joy and rule with him forever. That is, if she keeps up producing with the fruit of her hands, obedience. The Hebrew word that is translated as works comes from the word ma'asa, Strong's H 4639. It means a deed, works or acts, accomplishment. The acts or ma'asa of the apostles speaks of the dead or deeds or acts of that which the apostles did, and records their acts of obedience, their doing of the commands, and not just hearing it. They heeded the warning of Yahushua. Matthew 7, verses 24 through 27. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them shall be like a wise man who builds his house on the rock. And the rains came down, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for it was founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them shall be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain came down, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and they beat on the house, and it fell, and great was its fall. With her works being praised at the gates, the bride of Messiah guards the works of righteousness, Torah. It is because of this she may now enter his courts with thanksgiving, as Psalm says. Psalms 100, verse 4. Enter into his gates with thanksgiving, and enter into his courts with praise. Give thanks to him, bless his name. The gates are the entry point, and to enter in with praise enhances the image of rightful entrance through obedience. The Hebrew word that is translated as praise comes from the root word halal, Strong's H 1984, which means to shine, to be boastful, to be clear, to make a show, to rave, be foolish, to celebrate, praise, cheer, brag, or extol. That is, extol the greatness or excellence of a person, object, or event. With her works being praised at the gates, highlights the clear fact that our husband and king shall not forget our work and labor of love, as Hebrews 6:10 says. For Elohim is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which you have shown toward his name, in that you have attended to the set apart ones, and still attend. The bride of Messiah loves the name of Yahweh, and serves the set apart one, and keeps on doing it until she fully enters into the gates. And at the end, it is the strange woman who will bow down to the bride of Messiah. Revelation 3:9. See, I'm giving up those of the congregation of Satan who say they are they are Yehudim and are not, but lie. See, I'm making them come and worship before your feet, to know that I have loved you. Isaiah 60, verse 14. And the sons of those who afflicted you come bowing to you, but all those who despised you shall bow themselves at the soles of your feet. They shall call you City of Yahweh, Zion of the set apart one of Israel. Those who have guarded the set apartness and faithfully waited for her king to return is found to be properly dressed in white and ready with her lamp filled with oil. Our Master and Elohim is coming for his capable bride that he has chosen. Hosea 2, verses 19 through 20. And he shall take you as a bride, and I shall take you as a bride unto me forever. I take you as a bride unto me in righteousness, and in right ruling and mercy and compassion. And I shall take you as a bride unto me in trustworthiness, and you shall know Yahweh. Proverbs 31 can be a clear mirror of how we, as the bride of Messiah, are to be like. And so it teaches us the vital lesson on making sure that we are the capable wife or bride of Messiah that Yeshua has chosen. Revelation 19, verse 7. Let us be glad and rejoice and give him praise, for the marriage of the Lamb has come, and his wife prepared herself. The way that the bride of Messiah prepares herself is to look at the Proverbs 31 woman and emulate her, and also getting rid of the strange woman in her heart. The Greek word used here for prepared is hitoimazo, Strong's G 2090, which is a verb that means to prepare, get ready, make arrangement. That comes from the root hitoimos, Strong's G 2092, which means prepare, ready, ready at hand, prepared, accomplished. The wedding feast of the Lamb has been prepared. Are we ready? Matthew 22:4. Again, he sent out other servants, saying, say to those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and fattened cattle are slaughtered. All is ready. Come to the wedding feast. The bride of Messiah is ready, wearing her robe of righteousness. But the strange woman on the day of the wedding feast wears the worries of life and the deceitfulness of wealth, or is running after the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, rendering her heart as being unprepared and far from Elohim. Matthew 25, verse 10. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came. Of those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. Those who were ready came through the door, and the door was shut. But those who were not ready could not get in. It was a common custom in ancient times for people to be sent on ahead of their king's journey so that they could level the roads and make them passable for their kings. Matthew 3:3. Prepare the way of Yahweh, make his path straight. This is a quote from Isaiah 40, verse 3. Now the Hebrew word translated as prepare is panah, Strong's H6437, which means to turn towards a direction. And in order for us to turn towards a direction, we must turn from another direction. In order to get rid of the strange woman, we must learn to turn our backs on the many things that we picked up in the enslavement of this world and all its inherited lies, and face the truth towards our Messiah and Master. We do this by reading His words and letting it wash over us, making us clean. Husband, love your wives, as the Messiah also did love the assembly and gave Himself for it, in order to set it apart and cleanse it with the washing of water by the Word, in order to present it to Himself a splendid assembly, not having spot or wrinkle or any of the sort, but that it might be set apart and blameless. Ephesians 5:25-26. The bride of Messiah has indeed turned away from darkness and turned her face towards her great Redeemer, husband, and King. We must respond correctly to the call and prepare ourselves for our King. And hearing all the list of the strange woman, maybe you're thinking of another person. Maybe you're angry with that person. But perhaps, just perhaps, we all have a little bit of the strange woman in all of us. And if you do, find that you are this strange woman, or that you have spent time with strange women, I have great news for you. You can be transformed into the bride of Messiah. It can be done through the power of Yahweh's Spirit, which is given to you at the moment that you trust Yeshua to pay for your sin and turn from your evil ways and follow the groom and do what he says to do. He will change your desires. Your life does not need to be destroyed by the sin that the strange woman seduces you into. You can have a new life, and your old life will pass away. Therefore, if anyone is in Messiah, he is a new creature. The old matters have passed away. See, all matters have become new. 2 Corinthians 5:17. You can get rid of the strange woman by becoming a new creature. Old matters will pass away. All one needs to do is simply and humbly pray to the Father to change them. Would you do that right now? Will you become a bride of Messiah by saying yes to the one who died for your sin and is now raised up? If you say yes, he will seal you with his Spirit and guide you into his righteous path. Please, at this point, stop what you're doing and pray and begin your journey. If you find this a blessing, please be sure to bless others with this teaching by sharing, commenting, liking, and subscribing to the channel. Thanks. And Yahweh's love, compassion, and shalom be to you and your homes.